Look within. Look within. Look within. And live your life. And live your life on the edge of two worlds. A reality where you find true understanding of who you are. Take the step into the unknown with Alexander McCaig and Jason Rigby as they explore the thinly veiled world of consciousness, spirit, and the human condition. Join them in embodying the oneness of all. Walk the cliff's edge between the seen and the unseen realities. Welcome to High Density Living.
Alex, did you bathe today?
No, I was just gonna make that joke. I'm like, I have stopped showering altogether.
We don't have to use water anymore.
No, I don't bathe with water. I only bathe with pine needles.
Yes. And pine needles.
Twigs and brush and all that other good stuff that you find in the woods. There's some great studies that have come out on forest bathing. And it's not like, bathing in the sense where it's like, ooh, water's rushing over me and I'm
Let me get some
myself.
poison ivy and stick it on my body.
Are you allergic to poison ivy?
Yeah, I've had it.
I've had it so many times.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I'm allergic to grass too. Like it will, like if I roll around in grass, I'll get little tiny hives.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's
I'm
like
just allergic to nature in general.
Yeah, that's why I have to stay in the concrete jungle.
I'm totally allergic to poison ivy. There's like none of it out here.
So yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day. I was telling you this earlier. This is funny in the Philippines, and there's this little fruit. It's a red fruit, and I don't know what it is. Some people that are from there would know. And they take their flip flops off as a kid, and you would throw it at the tree, and you could knock these fruit down, and they're really sweet and really good. But if you get near the bark of the tree or it gets on you, it can kill you.
Get out of here.
Like kids will get super sick. They'll try to climb the tree or something, and they'll get the bark on them. Or the sap.
The sap.
Yeah, the sap. And they'll get that on them, and it can do a lot of damage. Like some kids have almost got, died from it or whatever.
It reminds me of mango sap.
Yeah.
Like mango sap is it's like a bad form of poison ivy.
Isn't that crazy though?
And we just hammer mangoes.
I know, but it's funny how the fruit
it's like the
is
most
so amazing for you, but then
there's dangers of collecting that treasure.
Yes, yeah,
It's interesting.
Yeah, or bees, same way.
Yeah, it's like a little hero's journey to get the sweet nectar of the earth.
But I think it's for me, I mean, not to get too philosophical, but for me in life, it's always that way.
What do you mean not too philosophical? This is higher density living.
Yeah, this is what the whole fucking podcast is about. No, but think about that in our lives. A lot of times to get to that fruit, there's so much danger that's involved. And I was telling somebody the other day, and I was talking to you about this. It was like, with Tartle, money doesn't motivate us. For me, in anything I do in work, it's a game.
Yep.
So I love the game.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do I get to that fruit, and efficiently, how can I get to it?
Yeah, it's the aspect
without hurting myself.
Yeah, it's not like the money I'm going to collect from doing the job. It's the job itself.
Yes.
And
yeah.
That's cool. It's its own little journey. It's its own little challenge to the self. To say, what can I really do?
And there's a documentary before we get into forest bathing. There's a documentary called The Last Dance with Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix. It's probably one of the best documentaries. Even if you don't like sports, the way it was done was just absolutely amazing. Because we know the outcome. He wins a bunch of championships, and all that. But then they make it where it's like goosebumps and like and I'm not like I don't watch tons of amounts of sports, but I was into this because they got into his mind and what made him a champion. And he said, I learned to play the game within the game. He goes, I got so good at the game that I had to find little games inside the game to play to get to my 60, 70 points.
He's just he was doing this refining. Like he's mastered the general practice of basketball. Now it's time to refine the good stuff.
Yeah.
It was almost like he was doing this internal self-coaching.
Yeah, he said one was the Seattle Sonics coach ignored him in a steakhouse that they were at. And normally they had golfed and played and been friends, but because they were going to the championships, he thought it would still be friendly. Like, hey, George, I think it's George Carl was his name. He's like, hey, George, how's it going? They're in a steakhouse. But he just blew right past him, wouldn't look at him, kind of acted like he was mad at him, the coach did.
Ego.
So the first game, he was like, I have to show him you don't do that to me. I'm Michael Jordan.
That's interesting. What an interesting
so
play of
he
egos.
scored 50 something points just and then kept looking over at the coach. Like, you fucked up, bro. You turned me on. I was just gonna play a regular game.
Now I flip the crazy switch. Yeah. You know, it's my favorite switch.
Yeah, the crazy switch. Yeah, but I mean, there's something about being dangerous. That why does, I mean, we're talking about forest bathing, but why is, we're going off the cuff here, why is it so important that, and why do we as a species love danger? Like, it enthralls us, and we get
you've asked a great question.
We get motivation out of it.
So George Mallory was one of the first men to summit Everest with his partner, and Sandy, I think Sandy or something akin to that. But they were just wearing twill and leather boots with some tapped in metal spikes. Twill, bro. 28,000 feet up in the sky wearing twill in the death zone. Okay. And they got their supplemental oxygen, 2 huge canisters. And these guys are summiting it by themselves with basic, like, manila bound, like, cotton cord. And when I say cord, it's rope. Like, that's it. Like, 1/4 inch.
Oh my God.
So they're going there summiting this bad Larry. But someone had asked him when he got to the Himalayas, they're like, why is it that you are looking to summit Everest? And he responds, he says, because it's there.
Yes.
And that is
it the challenge? Or?
Is an interesting aspect, a aspect of spiritual growth, perspective of life, and understanding the limitations of yourself. And if you push ego aside, when we look at that, if you take on the event of climbing something like Everest, a lot of people will say, there's 200 people going up at once. There's trash all over it. There's at least 100 frozen dead bodies on the mountain. Like, why would you want to do something so dangerous that's, polluting this mountain? Blah, 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 blah. Why would you want to wait in line? Well, the thing is when you are climbing something at a realm or a level that people will never touch or even consider touching, your perspective on life as you walk by a frozen body next to you and the view you receive at 29,000 feet overlooking the earth changes your appreciation for life, the planet, and the appreciation for your own limits. So when these guys are summiting this, whether it's in a group of 200 or they're by themselves, they are evolving in a deep sense of consciousness. If it's not a function of ego, there's a lot that can be learned about you and your own limitations. And then when you bring that back to this other world of reality,
right,
the way you view life changes. It's a lot like how, some astronauts, when they actually go into orbit and they see Earth for the first time,
yes,
in its totality, their perspective on everything changes.
Yeah, I was watching, there was a astronaut on Joe Rogan, and he said, it was so funny because he was going over, he's like, and we could have done this with anything, but he was going over the Middle East.
Yeah.
And he was looking down, from the space station.
Yeah.
As they can see. And he's like, how many tens of thousands of years have they been arguing? He's like, borders? Really?
No, isn't it interesting that when we look at this map, we have a map here on the back wall, guys. And Jason and I are always looking at it, discussing it, or expanding our 3rd grade geography. Everything's outlined with a map. They're very bold lines to say this is the territory that we own. But when you move yourself into a macro view, whether it's on top of Everest or you're in space looking at the Earth, both of them can give you that same sensation. Borders go away.
Yes.
It is just the Earth in its unified total self, and all of us are in it. But you don't see those borders. You just see that there's just the world of interaction and all these little people doing their own things with their own mindsets just buzzing around. And so there's this change. There's a dramatic emotional, psychological, spiritual, conscious change that happens in an individual when they achieve those things that take great risk, like going into space or going on top of the mountain. And it may be, viewed by others as selfish, and it could be, but something will happen to you and you will never be the same from that change in perspective. And that's why we do those things. That's why George Mallory summited it. That's why someone asked him, why are you doing it? He said, because it's there. There was something about life that needed to fill that challenge. That is that hero's journey that we all go through. And some people are just like, I have to go do it first. I want to know what that perspective is so I can come back and share it with others.
Yeah, and I think it for me, whenever I see, whether it's, winning a championship or it's climbing a mountain or going to space, all these amazing extreme things, it creates this spirituality, I think, if you're open to it. I mean, some people may do it just for the conquest, like, I conquered this and I conquered this and I conquered this.
But that's the ego.
Yeah.
But when you set that aside, something still changed in them. Something still drove that person so deep to go take that risk. And they still saw something really magical, no matter how big their ego is.
Right, yeah.
They were going through that journey. And we all go through that journey. And that's why we take that risk. What are you considering? What are you laughing at?
No, I'm picturing like this old white privileged guy up on Mount Everest.
No, I know.
Like barely breathing.
No, but he wasn't. He was young, and he was just like, I am gonna.
I know, but I'm
this.
picturing this egotistical guy, like
Yeah,
this
like, I gotta go
imaginary
do
guy,
it.
like, there's this big mountain,
Yeah,
and people can climb it.
I must go climb it.
Yeah, and so this will be a great story at my dinner party.
He doesn't realize he gets like TMR or TMI, whatever, some like micro stroke while he's up there. He's like, I can't do this. And it's really, things like Everest, things like space require people of a certain physiological design, genetically.
Right.
Okay. I do extremely well at high altitudes. I'm very efficient at them. So I've never done Everest. Would I like to? Yeah.
Right.
But, and would I be able to handle it? I think I can, but I wouldn't know until I was actually there. So it's interesting to know those limits of the self, because through those periods of suffering, like we've talked about before, that's when you have to be most honest with yourself. When you're sucking in as much oxygen, you're completely exhausted, you can't drink enough water, you can't eat enough food to keep up with the calories, and you have a frozen dead Japanese climber to your right, a Nepalese Sherpa to your left, frozen to death, just stuck there on the mountain, and you just have to keep on pushing forward. Because they were there for that journey, and they're trying to do just as much as you through that suffering to understand themselves and everything around them that they interact with.
It's just nuts to me to see extreme climbing. I mean, that's like, because there's another mountain over there, I think that's even more dangerous.
Yeah,
There's
K2.
one, yeah, is that the most dangerous? And
Yeah,
they were talking
it's very
about,
dangerous.
yeah, they were talking about, I mean, it's crazy. The amount of people that climb is not a lot, and then the amount of deaths is just like, the percentage is really high.
Yeah, it's 25% of the people that touch a mountain die.
Yeah.
25%. That's insane. One
That's
in every
crazy.
4 guys die who go up it.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And, but, and the government's like, we'll take all the money. We'll issue as many permits as possible.
Yeah.
So they'll keep sending people up there. But it's
Well,
not,
isn't there an issue with like one side of Mount Everest is owned by one government, one side's owned by the other, and the one wasn't issuing permits, so the other side was?
overissuing?
I think
There could be.
China's side is closed right
Yeah,
now.
I don't know.
So everybody's trying to summit on the other side.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I was reading about it.
I
here
truly
recently.
don't know. But, you're up there for a month on a mountain, acclimating, moving through all 3 separate camps before you hit the death zone and do your final summit. It's interesting. And then the most dangerous part of the whole thing, extreme climbing, it's no longer climbing at that point.
Right.
You've done all the extremes. There's some very extreme stuff out there that doesn't have to be very high. It's more than that. It's truly a journey at that point.
But is it, I think it's just a hero's journey played out that you can create.
That you do, yeah, you're creating yourself.
Yeah.
And it's good. And you
Right.
can do it in, essentially 30 days. But, mountains are very grounding places to be on. And if you're there for 30 days, you bathe in the nature of the mountain, the spirit of the
Right.
mountain, as they call it. That's what the Sherpas would say. You give blessings to it, all that other stuff. There's respect for that energy. And like even over here, the Sandia Mountain, we ground ourselves on it.
Right.
It's just a big, solid piece of rock emanating the Schumann resonance, right?
Yeah,
Just
isn't
it exudes that energy.
And so why do people feel so refreshed when they go for a hike?
Well, that's what it is. It's that grounding sense. So one of the first things you're doing is you're removing yourself from a concrete jungle. So crushed rock lacks the energetic signature of natural rock that's been composed of self, especially granite and things like that. So when you have concrete, when you set a battery down on concrete, what's it do?
It doesn't, it will.
Drains it.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have a job where you're walking around on concrete floors, you're drained, right? It is non-coherent. It's actually, it pulls life force out of things. So when you have something that goes back to a normal geometric structure in good grounded rock, like on a mountain, you're going to feel refreshed. You're going to feel that energy coming through that. It's not actually pulling it out of you. It's almost like you're trying to charge the concrete. The concrete's like begging for energy to come into it because its structure's been destroyed. So it's draining batteries, it's draining you. But as we lead to the mountain, go up in the trees and all those other things, you're going to feel life come about you. You've left this non-coherent resonance that's happening in this, what I wouldn't call society developed at all, our underdeveloped structure and architectures we have here. And you go to a place that's extremely natural, that is more genetically aligned with who you are. And then if you take that another step further, I'm on this grounded rock. Now I'm going to move into the trees. Trees have a beautiful way of moving water about them. So they're pulling, so the trees are naturally funneling the resonance and the water and the frequency up them in a helix pattern, just like your DNA does. That's how they move it. It spirals up the tree and then goes back down. Like if you're collecting maple syrup, you do it at certain times of the day or temperature because the water's getting pushed up or pushed back down. So there is another double grounding feature of being about those trees.
Yeah. So it's not just the rock.
No.
We have the trees.
It's the rock, the trees, and the ionized air at the same time. So you're bathing in freshly ionized air on a grounded surface with grounding trees. They're rooted and they have this beautiful energy that's moving up and down them in a natural pulse. So you have Schumann resonance, grounded rock, pulsing trees with their water, and then you have ionized air. So you're just like, this is, negatively ionized air. You're like, this is fantastic. And so that's where you have that refreshing feeling. And that's when they've seen that as an individual moves into there, that sort of bathing, the sort of tree bathing, changes the frequencies of the brainwave patterns.
So why is, because I want to talk about this too, because on the other side, the dichotomy of it is, there are so many people that will not go into an ocean because they're afraid of a shark. There's a lot of people that won't hike alone because they're afraid of a bear, a mountain lion, or something like that. And I actually read a statistic the other day, and they were saying the odds of you, even if you went into the water every single day.
Do you know how many times I've dived in the middle of the open ocean? So many times.
Yeah. But I mean, they were saying the odds of you being ate by a shark or being attacked by a mountain lion, especially mountain lions, are like, you have more of a chance of dying in your
car driving to work.
Yeah. Like 1,000 times. But they said you have more of a chance of dying in a jetliner crash than you do of actually being attacked by an animal.
Which is already so minimal.
Why when we're out there, why do we have, I mean, I get that. I get spooked out sometimes when I'm by myself, even here. I'll hear something and then
I'll climb that thing. No, I'm not trying to like one up you, but I'll throw a headlamp on and I'll climb that thing at 4:00 in the morning, pitch black.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I'm just, it's interesting to me.
But why do you get spooked?
Why do people get spooked and then they don't get into, because the water, I would imagine, would be the same thing. Salt water is very healing.
But the thing is, if you go into it with a sense of fear.
Yes.
So from a genetic sense, you're straining your DNA. You're creating that sort of anxiety, that lack of respiration of the cells. There's a lot going on that is changing the coherency of your thoughts. So there's this huge pool of like beautiful water or trees that you want to move into that will help equalize your body. But the constant state of your thoughts, like we talked about in a previous episode, goes into a state of Ossertung where it spirals out of control. It becomes more, the fear becomes greater and greater and greater and disproportional to really what's going on. Like, I'm going to get eaten by a shark. Well, truthfully, that's not the probability. You're not going to get eaten by a shark. You just continually think that, and it drives out of control, and you can't enjoy the peace of being in that water or floating in the Dead Sea, right? Or walking through these trees because you're so worried about a bear.
Well, it's irrational, too.
Well, it's totally irrational, but I want to ask you as a personal example. I don't feel this fear. I don't get spooked. It just is what it is. So
I think for me, it's the fight or flight, and it's the whole, for me, I love like battle type, so I like to be aware, like I want to be, if there's a bear over there, around that corner, I'm going to go around that switchback and all of a sudden there's a bear.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm alive. I'm ready. I don't fear it as much. I mean, I would say it's fear, but, cause I want to be honest. So, but there's also an excitement about it too, that there are things that are bigger than me that could eat me.
Yeah. I think be conscious of the risk. Be conscious of the idea that you are in other animals' homes. You have to coexist and co-live with these things, right? And don't let that completely define your life.
Yeah, like you don't want to be in the Antarctica and cook up some bacon. with the polar bear.
No, that would be stupid. You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? You don't want to be flippant about it.
Right? You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, you're hanging out in the water and just like, you get pegged by a narwhal, harpoons you. No, but when there's two things that are happening here. Nature gives regardless of who you are, whether whether society defines you as a good person or a bad person,
right.
You have full-time negative thoughts or positive thoughts. When you're there, it's going to constantly push out that energy.
Well,
if you, in your mental state, choose not to accept it, or you're fighting that natural energy like you fight who you are in your own self because you don't know who you are, well, then you're not going to be able to appreciate the physiological and spiritual and consciousness benefits of bathing within those trees, doing that sort of nature forest bathing.
Because it's because nature's altruistic. So, for me, it's like, and I turned you on to the dark side of nature on Instagram,
like that,
and everybody's like, oh my God. But I think it's important that people understand the reality of what nature is. If a pack of wolves are going to attack your dog, it's not against the wolves.
And it's not against the dog. It's a wolf being a wolf.
Yes.
It's doing what it does best.
Yes.
Are you going to hate the thing for it? No, you should have just understood the law of cause and effect. You let your dog go out there where there's an area of known wolves.
Right.
Who's to blame? The dog? No. Doesn't know any better. It's just being out there.
Yeah, it's just being a dog, and the wolves are just being a wolf.
You're the one that let that
But
occur.
And we put emotion into all of that.
Yeah, of course we do. And then we overlay things there that don't need to be there. And so, again, we're just like, we're trying to control nature.
Yes, exactly. That's where I wanted to get to.
And when you're up on Everest, you can't control Everest. It's you with Everest, not you against Everest. And that's a huge change in who you have to be also, to understand that I cannot stop nature. I cannot stop the chaos. I cannot stop these changes in the natural flow of the universe. I have to be one with it. And if I don't work with it, I die. It's as simple as that. It's very black and white at that point.
And the world, if we don't work with nature,
yes,
we are going to die.
We are going to die. And let's drive that into an example. Climate change. Like I was telling you earlier, when people say that, they get a little trigger and then they're like, oh, that's terrible.
We politicize it.
Yeah, we politicize it and they hear it and then they're like, that's bad. I don't like the way that sounds. And they don't think about it ever again. But in the truth of it, we're not working with our world. Mm-mm. We're manipulating it and pulling from it. So if you're burning jungles in Indonesia and 40% of the total landmass in the United States goes towards farming, and then of that, 70% of it is only to feed cattle for the meat industry, we're destroying nutrients of our land and forcing things towards things that are just destroying the planet because we feel that we can control it with no sort of negative outcome.
How can a person give to the planet? Because I love the cause and effect that we're just taking all the time. Practically, like daily, how can we give? You
can give to the planet in two ways. You can match it with its energy through meditation. Simple thing to do, right? You can look around and have a perspective of respecting the coexistence of everything around you. And you can also be aware of what your consumption looks like. Should I really be driving the car to do this, or can I walk there, ride a bike? Right. Do all these lights really need to fucking be on right now? Probably not. Shut them off. You know what I mean? Do I need to inundate myself with all these things? Do I really need to go to Costco and buy this or Home Goods to get this thing on sale? No, I don't. Because every time I buy that tells the manufacturer that more people want it, and we have to consume more to generate things that people really don't need.
Or buy from companies that are conscious.
Yeah, or
pay a little bit more.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Pay more. Buy your clothes from Patagonia.
Yeah.
Understand that they're conscious of the waste, right? They have certain certifications to make sure that people are paid properly, things are fair, and they're not abusing resources.
Right. Use a co-op, Trader Joe's, that type of thing.
Yeah. If you have the
local farmers.
Yeah, local farmers, or if you have the economic wherewithal, buy solar panels.
Yes.
Move your storage over to solar. Stop driving the stupid car that is sucking on gas.
Right.
Dead dinosaurs. Right?
That's what they are, yeah.
If you want to respect the planet, if you want to give back to it, right, rather than essentially, rake from it, I'm going to use the word rake.
I like that word.
Then, you have to be conscious of how you consume and interact with it. And right now, none of us are conscious of it. And we don't see the grand effects of, 30 feet of ice that have disappeared in Greenland. 30 feet. That's insane. We're not conscious of the effects of what's going on with the flooding in the state of Florida because the oceans have risen because we don't live there. We're not conscious of the palm oil used in all the major manufactured foods that is leveling beautiful jungle where there's a coexistence of species that don't exist anywhere else altogether.
But what's funny, like you use palm oil or any type of these vegetable oils and how inflammatory they are in our body.
Yeah.
With all of the chemicals that are in them. They've proven that. Science has proven that over and over again. If you take these vegetable oils and put them into your body, I mean, olive oil is good, coconut oil, those are different.
Yeah, olive oil,
but
raw,
like,
yeah,
I mean,
stuff like
what's the main one that all the fast food restaurants use?
They use palm.
Yeah. And so
Palm, canola, anything like that.
And they've already shown, like even on a cellular level, what it does.
Yeah.
And it's extremely
it creates
inflammatory.
Yeah, it's inflammatory, creating oxidative stress. How do you think the earth feels?
Yes, exactly.
Do people forget that the earth is alive also?
Yes.
We're not giving back. We're not conscious of these things. And, the coral reefs die. The biodiversity goes away. Animals that you appreciated seeing or migratory patterns will no longer exist in those areas.
The fish industry, I think, is one of I watched a documentary on that. That just like
it's horrendous.
Tore my heart out.
Yeah, it's horrendous. And people, I'm vegan. People
Right.
are like, well, why don't you eat fish? I couldn't think of anything worse than pulling away from the thing that is 70% of this planet.
Right.
You don't understand how important that biodiversity is. Or the function of not poisoning our waters because a majority of the CO2 is absorbed by plankton, not necessarily the boreal forest that goes around the earth.
But I mean, let's start by not everyone on the planet has to go vegan. No. I'm not. What I'm saying is, like we had our episode about conscious capitalism.
Yeah.
That's a start.
That's step one.
Yeah. So step one, let's start. Consumerism is what we live and die off of.
Mm-hmm.
Walmart has understood because of their algorithms. Now they're the number one producer of organic. We're consuming organic and they're changing their shelf slowly. And we are doing that.
Correct.
By the purchases that we make. And the more that you go into that store and you buy, I just bought organic peppers at Costco and I bought organic carrots and, all of these different things, the organic fruit bags or whatever. And I look and it's not organic, so I don't buy it. I just made a choice that helped humanity.
That's precisely correct.
And that's a small one, but it's if you have millions and millions of people make the same choice.
Yeah.
These manufacturers, because that's what I like to call it, it's a food manufacturing.
They have to change to what we want.
Yes.
But the thing is, we have this idea that we can just rely on others to take the responsibility for us, to have them lead the way.
It's the same with politicians. They're worthless. They change for what we want.
They're completely useless.
Look at all these old white guys that are changing on marijuana.
I know, but everybody looks at them and be like, you decide for us. That's not the design. The design is for you to say.
No, let's lock everybody up.
Yeah.
I mean, even our future president, Joe Biden, and both of them were like anti-drugs, part of the 80s and 90s and all that stuff. War on drugs, all that. Now, all of a sudden, they're actually thinking about making it a federal.
Well, think about, first of all, Obama.
Yeah, exactly.
When back in the day, in the earlier days of his political campaigning, he was anti-gay marriage. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He was anti-gay marriage.
Yes.
And then he's like, oh, wait a minute. The people want this.
Yes.
And then he's like, I'm pro-gay marriage.
That's all they do. They have no power.
No, they have no power and they're followers.
Yes. Yes. That's what I was getting to. That's great. Yes.
We, as the collective, are the leaders. We are the ones that need to wake up and decide how we want to coexist with this planet. If we want to continue to enjoy that tree bathing, don't destroy it. Stop cutting the damn trees down. There's better options for us to do things. We just don't choose to do them because they're not cheap. And what's cheap, quick, and efficient, but they don't realize that in the long run, we're just destroying everything else.
Yeah, it's the choices. And here's the thing I hate about, because I want to take this, and maybe we can end in this, but because I want to make sure that people understand this.
You don't hate it. It's just illogical to you.
Yeah, it's illogical. Yeah. Well, I dislike when people turn it into a religion. Mm-hmm. Like, I only wear hemp clothing and I only have, it's the same with vegan or whatever it may be. They turn it into dogma.
Yeah.
And make the choices, make them in that you love the planet, that you love humanity. This is that we have to be responsible. But at the end of the day, I can't judge you for the decisions that you make.
I cannot.
It's not my responsibility to.
I cannot. And if we don't all wake up to the responsibility
Right.
of living on this planet, nurturing it so that we can nurture ourselves, then you're just going to destroy it and die.
Right.
It's just like Everest. It's that black and white. And Everest is a very focalized point. It's a high focus area. And then when you get to points of high focus, it's black or white. It's life or death. And guess what? In the simplest way, you heat the earth up, ice melts, drops the amount of saltwater content in the water. So then it freezes at a much higher temperature than it normally would. And then you just drive yourself faster into an ice age again. Do you all want that?
Yeah.
I don't.
Right.
I don't. Not at all.
No, and I don't think that we realize that the power does belong to the people.
It absolutely belongs to the people. You know, that's right on the money. And that drives back to our focus of literally everything. You know, the more we can teach and the more people that can learn from that, then the more they can share, and then they can realize that power within themselves to create that change, whether in their world or in their internal world.
Yes, 100%. So forest bathe.
Yeah.
Go out there, get out there.
You don't have to take your clothes off.
Yeah, you don't
You
have
can
to.
keep them on.
Yeah, unless you want to.
Yeah, unless you want to. You don't have to be a vegan to walk through the trees, you know? And if you're really inclined, go hug one, you know?
Yeah, just make sure the sap is good.
Yeah, the saps. Don't touch the crazy, weird Indonesian, Filipino sap trees, you know, and find yourself in a hospital. Yeah. If you find a ponderosa pine, bury your nose in the sun. It smells like butterscotch.
Yeah.
You know, nature's cool. And when you take those small moments,
Don't hug a bear.
Don't hug the damn bear. You know, it's going to turn into
Did you see that
a revenant situation.
Did you see that girl take a selfie with the bear?
No.
So there was a girl, it went viral, and you can tell like this person's total city, like they've only lived in a city. So a bear, she's just standing there and a bear kind of is walking around, and then it comes up behind her and raises itself up. And she grabs her phone and goes like this and takes a bear of its. Luckily, it decided not to do anything. But, I mean, it could take its paw. Even a black bear could take its paw and swipe your head off.
I'm pretty sure it's 1,200 pounds of force that the bear's swing actually goes through. You got a bear standing up right here in your mug.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
I think I'm pretty sure it's 1,200 pounds of force. And their claw is, what, 4 or 5 inches long?
Yeah.
And it's thick.
Dude,
it's as thick as my finger.
If people have never seen an elk and how big they are,
elk are huge.
People, they're taller than you, and it can swipe an elk.
No, it's nuts.
That's what they eat.
You know, it's funny when you're not out in nature, you lose perspective.
Yes,
because the world we live in, we design it for us to fit us, but we don't understand that all these other things don't fit in it.
No, it doesn't fit in. It doesn't fit in our world. And then like Disney's been the worst. Is they take these animals and make them like cute and it's like it's a whole different world out there.
That
it is not what they're just being who they are.
You know that bear in the Jungle Book?
Yeah,
it's not really like that.
It's
you
not
know,
like, oh, yeah.
No, it's not. That thing is like
I got a big belly and
yeah, it's like piss me off around my cubs. I'm gonna come out swinging.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't. It would. I mean,
it doesn't care if you're a human being or a salmon.
Yeah,
it'll slice and dice you regardless. You know?
There's a great video online of a hunter. I think it's in Montana or something. He got attacked by a grizzly, and he like made it out. You know.
I saw this video. It's a great video.
And he's got like half his face all.
Yeah, and he's like the flesh is hanging off his arms and stuff.
I mean, just a badass dude. But yeah, he was just like, God. But I mean, even in the video, I mean, he's sitting there. You know, he's probably so much adrenaline he can't feel the pain. But even in that video, he's like, I got in the way of a bear.
That's what it is.
That's all it is.
He's not blaming the bear.
No.
He's like, was there and it happened.
Wrong place, wrong
and I just
time.
had to lay there while the thing clubbed me. It's a total revenant situation, you know?
Oh yeah. That's a scene that you'll remember for the rest of your life.
You'll never forget it. But listen, have no fear.
No fear.
Go out into the woods. Go out into the ocean if you have the ability to. Most people have the ability to go out into nature rather than... actually, the majority of the U.S. lives on the coastal.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just go take that time. Just remove yourself from our fabricated world and go into one that's just a much more natural.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
It's the world. It's the only one we got.
Yeah, bathe away.
Look within. Look within. Look within. And live your life on the edge of two worlds. A reality where you find true understanding of who you are. The learning is done. Become the teacher in embodying the oneness of all. Walk the cliff's edge between the seen and the unseen realities. Become a higher density being. Please go to www.higherdensityliving.com.